Okay, unlike my last video, I'm going to do a little more in-depth on this weapon in particular. That weapon right there, yeah, that's the aek971. Everyone knows that shit. You just walk into a room and spray hellfire on everything that fucking moves. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It's a fan favorite from Bad Company 2. But unlike in Bad Company 2, this weapon has reasonable accuracy, a killer firing rate, and it's not a fake gun. I'll get into that more in a minute. The aek971 was developed in the 1980s by the Kovrov mechanical plant, specifically by a guy named Koksharov. Oh lord, another AK variant, right? Well, no. This model is capable of taking the same magazines as a 545x39 chambered AK-74 or 74M, just like any respectable modern AK variant, but it also contains some features that made it into later AK models like the 107 and the AN-94, and some features that aren't present in any model but the AEK series even today. In real life, it also comes in 7.62x39 and 5.56x45 NATO. Cool, right? One really distinguishing feature about the aek971, in my opinion, is the really pronounced piston cylinder which sits above the barrel. Unlike older models of the Kalashnikov design, that tube isn't just a gas tube that dumps all the excess against a short-stroke piston close to the bolt. It now houses the piston, keeping the gases away from the receiver and preventing that nasty carbon fouling buildup on the face of the bolt. But it also contains a system of counterweights that get pushed forward as the gas piston operates, counteracting some of that recoil. The receiver group also got a nice redesign with a new fire mode selection switch, and the stock is fancy too. It's supposed to be able to flip to the side and latch onto the pistol grip somehow, but I don't know how that's actually done. And speaking of the receiver, it may just be me, but the overall silhouette of the gun kinda reminds me a little bit of the Fedorov automat. If you'll notice too, in-game, that's at least modeled accurately on the rifle itself, even if it isn't modeled accurately stats-wise. Notice too how the AEK got dressed up all pretty in one of those late production model ribbed handguards, unlike in Bad Company 1 and 2 versions of this gun, which were apparently based on prototypes of the aek971 design. Does that make any fucking sense? I mean, it's the late 2000s and we're talking about a 1980s prototype of a modern AK variant. Ugh. Anyway, the first thing I'm sure everyone noticed about this gun is that the iron sights aren't nearly as goddamn awesome as they were in Bad Company 2. That's because, unlike in Bad Company 2, you're actually aiming down the sights this time. But unfortunately, that means until you unlock some optics, this gun is probably going to give you a rough time with its blazing fast fire rate of 900 rounds per minute, which I might mention is true to life. That makes the aek971 the second fastest assault rifle in the game, bested only by the FAMAS. But we don't talk about the FAMAS. I think it bears mentioning, as you probably noticed, I wasn't hip firing nearly as much with the AEK as I was with the 416 in my previous video. And don't be discouraged, that's not because the AEK has bad hip spread or anything. In fact, it's identical to the 416. The reason I don't, though, is because the AEK generally has more recoil than the 416. Combine that with a 20% faster fire rate, 900 rounds per minute versus 750 rounds per minute, and you'll find this gun just generally jumps around a bit more. Now, I don't know for sure if the hip spread is even affected by recoil. I can't really verify that. But the AEK seemed to just not quite fire as tightly from the hip as the 416. You can compound that with the faster fire rate of the AEK though, and really what it comes down to is your preference. Do you want to shoot faster, or do you want to have more probability of hitting your individual shots to begin with? I'm sure anyone will tell you the AEK is supposed to be this monster in close quarters. You'll notice I keep getting killed by shotguns. Yeah, so I'm at a disadvantage no matter what I do with the AEK. Don't read me wrong, I don't hate shotguns. I love all the weapons in the game, except the FAMAS. But I'm not talking about the fucking FAMAS, am I? It's just, I forced myself to play with this gun against a bunch of shotguns in a close quarters map. I guess because I kept hearing it's such a great hip-fire weapon for close quarters because of its fire rate. I don't know, I just feel like the AK is lacking in this match. Getting my ass reamed over here. Speaking of lacking, you know what really sucks? In Battlefield 4, you get something like 1 magazine less worth of ammo in reserve. And granted, this wouldn't be a problem if the fire rate hadn't gone through the roof, but I'm not complaining. Off subject, I know. Now, about the bullets. How much bang am I really getting for my rounds? Turns out, not much exciting is going on. Just like most of the other assault rifles in the game, you're doing at most 25 damage face-to-face with some asshole, but that same asshole 55 meters away is only taking about 17.5 damage. Not a big surprise. Same bullet drop, same damage, same magazine size, yawn. Something that's different is muzzle velocity. The 416 has better muzzle velocity. Yeah, how the hell can that be? Assuming a 5.56 M855 ammo and a 10-inch barrel, which is reasonable, I think, looking at the 416 in-game and given how run-of-the-mill and standard issue M855 is, you're looking at 788 meters per second. That's respectable, right? In-game, it's 600. Don't ask me where the hell they got those numbers, compared to the aek971, which in real life will typically reach 880 meters per second. In-game, it's 580? Okay, I really don't get it. That's submachine gun velocities. Okay, slight exaggeration, but that's not the point. The point is, I'm not far off the mark. Well, even if the stats don't make any fucking sense, at least the gun's modeled pretty accurately. But wait, why is the fire mode switch set to semi-automatic? God, I'm tired of seeing this shit. Yeah, to save a lot of explaining, due to the circumstances leading up to the AK-47's design, basically Russian troops were taught to treat the AK-47 like a submachine gun. It wasn't designed for accurate semi-automatic fire, so the result is that the fire selector switch goes from safe to auto to semi, which is unlike in most Western modern weapons, which are the usual safe semi-auto or burst or whatever the fuck. It just proves to me DICE just couldn't be asked to do their damn research with any of these guns. And to add salt into the wound, the aek971 doesn't have a burst fire mode. That's the aek971S, dumbasses. Fuck. Okay, this video's dragging on. So, to recap, the AEK fires in semi, burst, or auto. So really, it's an aek971S. Its muzzle velocity is 580 meters per second, so it automatically gets beat out by the 416, and the 416 is a mediocre gun. However, the AEK has a great fire rate at 900 rounds per minute, but it has the same exact magazine as most other assault rifles. Be aware of this when hipfire spraying everywhere, and you will spray everywhere. The recoil of the AEK is a bit higher than most other assault rifles, and it still keeps that fire rate, keep that in mind. Its hip spread is more or less unchanged from the other assault rifles, nothing to really brag about here. And finally, its damage is totally run-of-the-mill and is identical to most other assault rifles. Its sights are also a bit obstructive, so you might want to invest in using optics as soon as you unlock them. In closing, I give the aek971S a 3.5 out of 5. I don't know, I just feel the 416 is better for my applications, which generally involves a lot of hip fire spraying, because as you saw in my previous video, I can't aim for shit. As far as realism goes, makes me want to shove a flagpole up my ass until my intestines start singing the Russian national anthem. This gun gets a 0 out of 5 on realism because it's not even the gun it claims to fucking be. Good game, DICE.